Scariest serial killers from around the world. Yo, I swear, there was a serial killer I learned. He cut off somebody's eat it. Now, okay, don't mistake me on that, or I don't know, it was something weird. I remember learning about it. I remember it was something weird, like, I don't know, but they consented to it. It was allowed. It was like some video I saw a while ago, and I was like, what? So, yeah, anyways, let's watch the video.
Bro, what are you watching? Oh, dude, I'm just watching the show about people that got killed, tortured, murdered, abused, beaten, mutilated. Why? I don't know, man. It's just so calming and peaceful, honestly. That's concerning. Whether you belong on a list or just have a morbid curiosity in how these twisted people's minds.
Okay, wait, let me rewind it. I already know this.
Whether you belong on a list or just have a morbid curiosity in.
Hey, chat, who's this young fellow with the glasses and the gray hoodie and the... I already know
how these twisted people's minds work. This video is for you.
White girls be like, wait, do y'all watch like a lot of? Are y'all like? Is the main thing you guys watch true crime stuff? Because I can't imagine people that sit there and just do that all day. I know it's a comment that a lot of women be doing that. A lot of women be like sitting down and watching a lot of the true crime stuff. No, I do. Because I feel like I would just be very negative. I mean, it is interesting to hear these stories, and it's interesting to get a perspective into some of these people's minds and how f***ed up their minds were. I feel like I would just be depressed. It makes me fall asleep. Bro, have you ever heard of like a white noise machine or just listening to white noise? What do you mean you're hearing the story about Jeffrey Dahmer murdered 13 people and you're falling asleep?
Thing to quickly note is that this list is not based off kill count alone. The scary factor is based off of their general vibe, their story, and also their methods. Let's begin. Starting off strong, we have Ted Bundy. This man is literally...
Ted Bundy. I mean, we all know Ted Bundy.
Really nightmare fuel. Why was Ted so scary? For me personally, it comes down to a few reasons. Primarily being how unassuming he came off. He was literally a wolf in sheep's clothing. He was well-educated, charismatic, charming, although he had a truly twisted and dark side that only came out.
Hey, Ted Bundy in this generation will be running up numbers. Y'all remember when they were making those Jeffrey Dahmer edits? Oh yeah, this generation of women would be cooked, bro. This man would have had like 100 times the amount of kills he got.
Once you were alone.
What if bro had a Tinder account? I'm telling you, a lot of these serial killers that were semi-handsome to society standards, yeah, they would be running up numbers.
Besides him being almost completely hidden in plain sight, he was also a master of escape and literally escaped police twice. And after the second time he escaped, he committed 6 more murders, which is literally insane.
Okay, see that's... How do you fumble twice? Bro.
Something that I find completely ironic is that Ted actually attended law school for a year, which is super random, but I mean, it's not the first time something like that's happened. Once he was finally caught, he eventually admitted to over 30 murders, abducting, assaulting, and murdering young women. And during his trial, he even partially represented himself. And during his sentencing, he literally proposed to his girlfriend. This dude was loving.
He had a girlfriend? Yo, don't ever say y'all don't got a chance. I'm telling y'all, it ain't hard. It ain't hard.
The attention and is a complete lunatic. Next up, we have Harold Shipman, aka Dr.
This dude looks like a serial killer. What's his name? Dr. what?
Death. If you thought...
hell no, man. Wrap it up. Dr. Death? With an evil, conniving name like that, he got at least 100 bodies. Oh, and he's from the UK, and we know exactly what it was. Shing, 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 shing. Hey, what daggers was he using, Harold Shipman? What daggers were he using?
Thought that name was bad.
Sounds like a movie title.
It gets worse. Harold was a family doctor in the small town of Hyde in the United...
Oh my god, nah. A doctor? That's the scariest thing about serial killers. They can have any job. A fucking doctor? One day they're touching your balls to see if you got testicle cancer. Another day they're murdering 50 plus people.
United Kingdom. Harold was well known and well respected in his community, and a majority of his clients were the elderly. This might seem a little bit random, but this fact is very important. Now, let's kind of step back and look at his history.
That's fucked up.
In his early years, he was the primary caretaker for his mother with cancer, and that led him to seeking out medical practice. He became a doctor, had a family, and had a successful practice. Although
have a family too. Come on, man.
He did end up developing a drug habit that almost cost him his practice. He was fined on multiple drug charges and even went to rehab, but was considered cured by the end of his treatment and was free to practice once again. Once he continued his practice is when things really began to take a turn.
Okay.
Specifically, elderly women began to die under his care. Shipman would use any reason possible to use a hypodermic needle on his patients, which he would use to deliver them a deadly dose of morphine, causing them...
No, man, that's the worst thing too, because you wouldn't suspect that. Like, imagine you go to the doctor to get a shot and then you just drop dead the next day. But did they not notice at some point after like 2 or 3 people? And they let him just go by? Hey, shout out to my UK viewers, but I know they wouldn't let this shit slide in America, bro. Your ass would have been fired. Imagine your doctor off you on a checkup. And I guarantee they're going to make you still pay for it, bro, in your grave. They're going to hand you the bill like this. But they're going to hand it like upside down. Like, you know when the teacher slides your test like they know you did bad? Like, they're going to be like, hey, you dead, nigga, but you got to pay this shit. You got to pay this, man. You forgot we don't got free health insurance.
The interesting thing is this was the same medicine he gave his mother when he was younger. Like Ted Bundy, Shipman is terrifying because of how unassuming he was. Not only was he respected in the community and well-known and a family man, but he was also a family doctor. Probably one of the last people that you would assume to be ending people's lives intentionally. Another really scary factor was that his patient base was so vulnerable. And unfortunately, early on, a lot of his victims were just written off because of old age. Shipman was found out because before he killed his last victim, he modified her will to have her leave everything to her family doctor, aka Shipman. Her family was...
Okay, he's brain dead. What? Who is going to believe that? Who's going to believe your elderly patient is just giving you all of her money throughout her whole life, like you're her husband or her son or something like that? Yeah. You would think if you run up this many bodies, you'd have like some type of brain, and you went to medical school.
Suspicious, and they investigated. After a thorough police investigation, it was discovered that Dr. Death was responsible for over 215 deaths.
That's insurmountable. That is a big word I just used. Insurmountable. 215 people. Dude, that's like the average viewers we have on Twitch. That's like this whole Twitch stream, everybody in the chat just dropping dead. Man, it's burning in hell, bro. Let me know where the grave is so I can piss on it. Hold on, let me see what he looks like. Bro, this dead ass looks like a good guy. No, man. He looks slightly like he will be on the sexual registry though, but like, if I saw this dude being my doctor, I'd be like, oh, it's an old, known doctor. Kind of look like Walter White. Don't ever disrespect my goat like that again.
Absolutely terrifying. Third up, we have Andre Chikatilo, a.k.a. the Rostov Ripper.
Okay, see, this dude doesn't look like a loving grandpa. Whatever this dude did, he did it.
Or the Butcher of Rostov. He was a serial killer from Soviet Russia. The fact that he was in Soviet
Russia... Oh, he was Russian, too. How good is the Russian police, man? You probably give them like $50 and some nushkanini. That's probably a dish in Russia. I don't know Russian dishes. And you could just slide with it. I know them Russian police don't care. There's no way they do.
Russia actually played a big part in the reason why he was able to go on for so long. The state-controlled media was not allowed to talk about serial killings or anything of the sort, specifically because they believed that they did not have that issue. They didn't have serial killers, they thought. They believed that to only be a Western phenomenon. Following the trend,
Alright, man.
Chikatilo was just an unassuming traveling businessman, although his urges were much deeper and much darker. And unfortunately, Chikatilo was the type of person known as a necrosadist, someone who gained arousal from pain and violence and murder.
Sickness from pain and arousal. But honestly, isn't this a common thing like people have? Like, people dead ass have this thing. Y'all know those dudes that like to get like their balls crushed and squeezed and all that? That's legit a thing. There's dudes that like to get... there was like some Twitter video I saw 2 weeks ago, and it was this girl that was literally just beating up this guy. I swear to you, he was just beating up... She was just beating up this dude. And it was very sad. And he was very much pleased by it.
Murder. Chikatilo targeted runaways, prostitutes, and...
There's at least one person here that has that statistically.
People, as they were considered undesirables or less dead. Over time, the evidence was undeniable, and the police were starting to suspect a group was at the loose, and even the general public was starting to believe that there was a werewolf just because of how gruesome the bodies were left. Unfortunately, these investigations were not fruitful, simply because they were not looking in the right places. They were literally investigating satanic cults and recent psychiatric ward alumni. It wasn't until they brought in a psychiatrist that they were able to begin making progress and realize that maybe the killer was a normal seeming businessman who could be among us. In an interesting turn of events, Chikatilo was literally caught at a bus stop talking to a potential victim and was found with Vaseline, rope, and a knife in his briefcase. Although once he was brought
If I was that victim, I'm going straight to church and praying.
in, his blood did not match the DNA on the killings, and he was only held for a theft he committed. It wasn't until a few years later he was once again brought back in to the police station.
Yeah, what was he about to do with the Vaseline? Just realized, oh god.
At this point, they knew they had to get him. Although they didn't have much evidence and time was ticking before they had to release him again, it only took a 2-hour conversation between Chikatilo and the psychiatrist to have Chikatilo crack and confess to everything. Chikatilo was responsible for the gruesome death of 56 young men and women and was sentenced to death by a bullet in the back of the head. All right.
Hey, shout out to Russia for sentencing him to death, though, because America don't be doing that. There'll be school shooters with more bodies than this, and they get like life in prison.
Things have gotten pretty dark, but we're just getting started. Let's just take a quick breather together. It's so crazy to think about how twisted these individuals are.
I know, right?
Something I wanted to quickly mention is that this video is in no particular order. These individuals do not deserve a ranking, and I will not be giving them one. All right, buckle up. We're jumping back in. Next up, bringing us back to the U.S., we have Jeffrey Dahmer.
We all know this.
I'm gonna
let it play, but we all know.
Probably one of the most infamous and well-documented serial killers of all time. If you know anything about Jeffrey Dahmer's story, it's not hard to believe why he's on this list. He is one of the most depraved individuals likely to ever exist. From a very young age, he was experiencing intense, violent thoughts, and it didn't take long for him to begin acting on them. From the years of 1978 until his arrest in 1991, Jeff had killed 17 people in uniquely horrific and gruesome ways. Jeff would drug, assault, murder, assault again, chop up, eat, and more to his...
Have y'all actually seen like the crime photos? Has anybody seen the crime photos? Oh my god, the first time I saw them, oh my god.
Victims in the body.
No, you can see them online. I'm pretty sure they showed it in the show. Or for y'all that actually watched the show. But, I mean, everybody knows. You've seen, like, some type of documentary on Jeffrey Dahmer. Can you show them on stream? Oh, yeah. Let me show this totally family-friendly image of Jeffrey Dahmer cutting up limbs of human beings on Twitch. Give me a second real quick. All right, y'all. I'm about to turn to it. I'm about to turn to it in 3, 2, 1. Come on, bro. Don't ask questions you know the answer to.
Bodies of his victims. Not only would he drug, assault, murder, and eat his victims, but he would also mutilate their bodies and keep parts of their body as souvenirs. He even said himself that this made him feel closer to his victims. He says that he didn't want to kill anybody, it was just his only option as he wanted companionship. According to him, his ultimate goal was...
Yeah, that's the best way to get a companion.
...wasn't to murder.
Thanks for the dating advice, Dahmer, you bitch.
He simply wanted a slave who he could control completely and not have to worry about any of their wants or desires. This man was truly
He would have killed the dog.
And
you already know.
Because there was no death penalty in Wisconsin, he was actually sentenced to 973 years in jail, although he was murdered in jail by a cellmate, thankfully. Following the trend of...
Hey, shout out to that cellmate, man. Shout out to that cellmate. How was that cellmate doing?
Disgusting, disturbing cannibals, we have Joachim Kroll.
Oh my god, holy this face, it jump scared me. Why is his neck like that? I need to see what this dude actually looks like after this. And he's German too. Oh my god, man. 2 L's in one.
Disturbing serial killer from Germany. Joachim had
he's giving me the I don't know, the world dominating vibes. Why is his neck so long?
IQ of 76, which is just above the line of being considered mentally challenged. Kroll would primarily find his victims by either going to smaller towns outside of where he lived, or simply strolling through and hiding in the forest waiting for victims to pass by. Kroll targeted women and young girls.
Getting bush attacked, bro. What is this, Fortnite? I died like that, man. I'm coming back to haunt you forever.
Specifically, with his youngest victim being 5 years old. He would typically start a conversation with a victim and then shortly after strangle them to death and then assault their corpse. He shortly after began cutting chunks of his victim's body off and taking them home to eat. The bodies of his victims were typically found a few days after the incident, although they were never linked to him. And one of the most unfortunate parts of his story is that typically people close to the victim would be considered primary suspects, and there was multiple completely innocent suspects who ended their own lives out of sheer frustration and embarrassment of being considered a suspect. As I'm probably sure you've realized at this point, it's very common that a lot of these people were not necessarily
and it also happens a lot too in like America. I just saw a story of this dude. This dude got out from 44 years of a false conviction. What do you do? 44 years of your life in prison, and then you finally get released. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to do. You're done for. They gave him a bag though, like 25 million for getting wrongfully accused, but it don't matter. That money is not going to save you time. I'd rather have made through that 40 years like $100,000, like 10,000 a year or something like that, and survive on that than do that shit.
Aimed to be serial killers just at a first glance. Even in his own apartment building, Kroll was known as Uncle Kroll to the local children, as he would give them treats and allow them to play with dolls in his apartment, which he kept to lure the children. Kroll was eventually caught after he killed a neighborhood child. He tried to dispose of the remains of this child he didn't want in the toilet in the shared bathroom, and as he left the bathroom with the toilet clogged, he told one of his neighbors not to go in there. The toilet was clogged. His neighbor still went to use the bathroom and saw the horrible mess that was in the toilet.
Dude, I swear, these serial killers, like, they have no brain cells. No type of brain cells. There's no getting this image out of your face. Like, this dude's face is probably stuck like this for the rest of his life.
Toilet. He contacted the police, and the police,
like, they have all the type of wits to chop up the people and kill them in all these different types of ways, but then caught with things like this.
Quickly investigated and questioned Kroll directly. They forced their way into his apartment and saw that he was cooking a stew. Kroll quickly admitted to everything, and they noticed that the stew literally contained human remains from the victim they were searching for. This man was seriously
I need to see what this dude looks like. Oh, wait. Okay, he did a good drawing. He literally looks like the picture. Oh, yeah. No, look at him, bro. Sick individual. Look at those eyes. Lost everything in life. Nothing behind those eyes.
Moving over to South America, from Colombia specifically, we have Pedro Lopez, also known as the Monster of the Andes. If you thought it was frustrating and just nonsensical how the police didn't catch any of these people earlier, you're gonna absolutely hate how the story goes. Lopez was literally found guilty of murdering 110 girls in Ecuador alone, but he also confessed to killing an additional 240 women across Peru and Colombia. Now, obviously for having...
That has to be all time. That has to be number one. That has to be the number one serial killer all time. Why have I not heard of this person?
Over 300 alleged
South
murders.
American police slacking. I'm pretty sure they're better now, but I remember back then you could, oh my God, everybody, like all the cartels was bribing them. They probably still do it.
He is obviously sentenced to death, right? No? Well, he's at least sentenced to life in prison, right? What if I told you that he was literally released on good behavior and now his whereabouts are completely unknown? I'm not making this up, by the way.
Y'all. I lived an amazing, great life, and I know I'm dead. He's probably coming to my house next. He's probably watching this video right now. Hey, you bitch, if you're watching this. He's probably coming right now. I just made fun of him. He's gonna find my house, and it's over for me. I had a fun career.
By the way, Pedro Lopez was literally released in 1990.
Yeah, everybody refrain from going outside after this stream, or if you're watching this video on the tube.
He ate on good behavior, and now his whereabouts are not known. I seriously cannot fathom whose idea.
No, that makes it worse. That makes it so much worse.
This was, and how they could justify this at all.
Bro, I see hella Hispanic niggas that look like that, bro. I go to the Spanish market like at least once a month, dude. I might see him there.
On top of being somebody who just murdered hundreds of people, something that is extremely scary about this person right now is the fact that they were born in 1948, meaning that right now in 2023, if they're still alive, they're only 75 years old. Meaning that if you just see an old person walking down the side of the road, they might be the monster of the Andes.
Oh yeah, no, let me see this old man. That's a punch. Hold that. That man is dropping in one punch.
Insane. This next entry on our very disturbing list brings us back to where we started in the USA. Oh, no. This entry is our third American and final entry. His name is John.
Wait, pre-Killer Clown. I knew it. The Killer Clown, John Wayne Gacy.
John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy is probably one of the most deranged individuals on this list, and
he's the reason. I think he's the reason why people started to hate clowns. It was him.
If you've heard of Jeffrey Dahmer, you've probably heard of John Wayne Gacy. Gacy was a businessman and politician, and was a liked and respected.
He's a politician, really?
Figure. Like most people on this list, he was rather unassuming, and unfortunately, living a double life. Gacy had a family, a wife, a child, but that didn't stop him from assaulting young men, and although they were silent for some time out of fear for their lives, eventually they came out with their story, and Gacy was charged and imprisoned. Like the previous entry on this list, he was released
They didn't kill him, though. Did they give him the death sentence? That's the thing, man. America, come on. What happened to the death sentences?
on good behavior. Absolutely wild.
Y'all
After
used
he
to
was
be
released
bombing
from prison,
countries
he
and
was
stuff.
essentially able to
I
get
mean,
a
you still
fresh
do,
start
but-
in life and was able to get a job, find a new wife, and start a construction company that was able to be quite lucrative, although it wasn't long until he was at his antics once again. Gacy developed an alter ego named Pogo the Clown, which allowed him to express parts of himself he felt that he had to repress. He appeared at birthday parties, community events, and did magic for children in the hospital.
pussies.
Unfortunately, these displays only brought him closer to his darker self. Gacy began cruising around at night in his full clown getup and would force young boys to get in his vehicle at gunpoint.
I see a clown. Even if I was a kid, I see a clown like this. There's no world where I'm ever stupid enough to get into a van like this. There is no world where I'm ever stupid enough. Hell nah, man. Hell nah. I feel like I was a pretty smart kid. I never got tricked by anything like that or anything like this. I never would. He said gunpoint? Oh, wait. Okay, I didn't hear
His
that.
full clown getup and would force young boys to get in his vehicle at gunpoint and
Okay,
then
never mind then. Never mind.
assault.
No, that, man. I'm running, because, man, I have more of a chance of getting shot and surviving than being with this dude and getting in his car. I'm
them
running.
and murder them
I'm
and
cranking
bury them in
90s.
his basement. Gacy was eventually caught because his basement was so full of bodies. His last victim he actually had to ditch in a local river. This body was shortly after found, and the police were able to connect the dots and immediately began investigating Gacy. It wasn't long before they got a warrant, searched the basement, and found the bodies. It's interesting because Gacy always denied the accusations and even claimed that the bodies in his basement was a setup to destroy his political career. This man was a complete lunatic. And with that, we conclude my list of the scariest serial killers from around the world. Let me know in the comments the most
Hey, man, that was a good video, man. Y'all go check that out if you guys want to. Yeah, honestly, you know the scariest thought to me? Somebody in here could be a serial killer. Like, we could really look back at this chat. We could see, Bean_R_04. They could be a serial killer. Who knows? PETA P12. They could be a serial killer. Who knows? It really depends. And if you're watching this on the tube, join the Discord. Mwah!